But for everyone joining on Chronicon's page, we are here with the incredible Mira Mariah, who you probably know as Girl New York with her little puppy. I saw you just adopted this dog, right?
Yeah, he's like so new, but I feel like we've been together forever.
Yeah.
But he was adopted from Rescue City, and it was such a good experience. I like really recommend, like, if anyone is thinking about adopting a dog, considering them.
Rescue City. Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so we're here with Mira Mariah, and make sure that if you're not already following her at Girl New York, that you do that. And this will be uploaded to our IGTV, so we'll also have those, videos available as well next week. But I just wanted to have this chronic convo with you today, Mira, because you were one of our speakers at Chronicon, which we had live October 28th. Feels like a lifetime ago.
Crazy, but such an honor.
It was such an honor to have you. And you were somebody, before I totally knew what Chronicon was gonna be, I was just like, I need to have, whatever it ends up being, I need to have you there. So I'm so thrilled that you were there. And today I just really wanted to talk to you about how you're doing, where you're at, and also talk about a few other things as well. So why don't we start with that? How are you and where are you right now?
I am in New York City. I'm still in Brooklyn, in the apartment that I share with my sister and my daughter.
Yeah. How is
and
that?
It's an adventure, and I'm really lucky to have them because I think I would be really lonely in a different kind of isolating situation that maybe didn't have people with us.
Yeah.
So to be with my sister and my daughter is really great, but to be a parent during this time is like pretty complicated and quite an adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. And what has been the most complicated part of that, do you think, for you?
I think that maybe homeschooling has been the hardest part.
Yeah.
And like not having the resources that I'm used to having. Like I lean on friends and family a lot, and I lean on them for emotional support and physical support. And doing it on my own has been pretty hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you say physical support, for those who are watching, either from your page or at Chronicon Official, I know you have a story that you shared at Chronicon. You also shared it on our podcast, The Point of Pain, which was so beautiful. If you haven't already listened to that episode, everyone. But can you just share a little bit about, you're a disability advocate as well as a tattoo artist, and how did you become a disability advocate? Like, why is that a part of your story?
Well, I'm a left leg below knee amputee that lost my leg after a long series of chronic pain and complicated issues from a birth defect.
Yeah.
So I think that just being present as a physically and visibly disabled person kind of turned me into an advocate, because I was just taking up space in environments people weren't used to seeing disabled people in. So that's kind of my story there. So when I'm saying I'm leaning on people physically, what I mean is that, like, truly the workload to keep myself and my family alive is like sometimes like more than I can do. Yeah. And I've been really blessed with a support system that has helped me do that.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that with us here. And it's so important because, one of the things that you mentioned was just that you were in spaces that people weren't necessarily used to seeing someone who looked like you or dressed like you in, which is something that you and I bonded about so much, like that disability or chronic illness does not look one way. And is that your daughter in the background?
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, don't be sorry at all. We love all of it. We love all of it.
She's asking if she can wear lipstick.
Oh, can she?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. No, and it's so empowering and so important to see people who look like you, dress like you. You're a tattoo artist, like you love fashion. You're so beautiful, like you express yourself through your clothing and makeup and things that you wear, So what has that journey been like for you, and how is that different now?
I think that right now I'm just like, every day is so different
Yeah.
for me, where like some days like makeup and like a full outfit feels right and feels like what's necessary. And I feel like I go through these like 3-day periods where I can do it. I can cook, prepare, and clean up after 3 meals. I can educate my child on how to read and write, and I can accomplish the tasks of my own work and my own career. And then sometimes I feel like there's kind of this like burnout where after 3 or 4 days of that, I'm like, I can't, like, you can eat a Pop-Tart and we can just figure it out from there.
Oh my God, totally. I was actually just texting with a friend because I've been working on this new like movement journey, and just, you know, being somebody, I have arthritis, so I was unable to move and walk for many, many years of my life. And just the movement conversation is like, I'm sorry, walking is hard. So, and now you want me to like do cardio? Like, you know what I mean? And just understanding that we have, my friend was saying, sometimes we have ideal days where it's great and we're able to do it and push through. And then sometimes there's like not so ideal days.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really true. And I think for disabled people, a lot of the rhetoric surrounding this pandemic has been like, Zoom workout classes and use this time to be productive mentally, emotionally, and physically. Learn another language, do all this stuff with your career. And while this isn't my experience, there are definitely people close to me that are having difficulty accessing their medication. I do live in fear of exercising right now because if I needed my prosthetic fixed, I don't know what would happen. So I think that the rhetoric that works for a lot of other people and they find inspiring can be kind of damaging to disabled people to totally be all they're hearing.
Yes, I so appreciate that. And, you know, Carolina in the comments is saying like, we're just trying. She's such a star, right? She's awesome. But yeah, she's saying like, we're just trying to survive. And there's someone else, Giraffe and Seagraph, I think is how you say the name, and they said that they shared their story with you about being disabled and they didn't even know you were a part of the community, which is amazing, actually. You know what I mean? Like that you are so many things, and this is one of the many things that you are, right? It doesn't define you.
No, I think that's like my mission is to be like, I am an amputee and I'm also, and I really love finding out what other women also are and other people also are, like learning about, you know, kind of what else people can be and do.
Yeah. Your child.
You look amazing. I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. This is real life. We love it all. This is real life. And you know, you're like trying to do work things and you're also a mom and you're also doing 100 other things at the same time. Like this is what quarantine and this moment is really about, you know? And so, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I can't, like, there's moments where it's like horrible and I'm like, I'm not the right person for this job that I've been assigned by God. And then there's moments where I'm kind of like, it's kind of cool to be able to like do what I love doing and not be far away from her.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's really relatable. Like, I think a lot of people feel that there's this ebb and flow. I know I feel that for sure. Just that there's this ebb and flow. Like some mornings I'll wake up and I'll be like, okay, I'm ready to move and, you know, cook my breakfast and do all the things. And then the next morning I'll wake up and I'll just be like, why are we still here in the same house, in the same spot, you know?
Of course, I feel that completely, and I'm so proud of you in your movement and like what you're doing. And I don't even, I said movement, but I don't mean your physical movement journey. I meant the movement that you have like started amongst people. It's just so cool.
Well, having you be a part of it has been such a gift and something that I know the Chronicon community is so appreciative of. When we announced that you were going to be our Chroniconvo today, everybody was just like, what? Yes, we love her so much. So we're so grateful that you're here. And living in this queer body, just mentioned the tyranny of wellness culture, which I just wanted to acknowledge because I think that there is.
That's eloquent. They should write a book entitled that.
Living in this queer body is actually very awesome. So you should definitely check them out. But yeah, it's really it's really, this moment is really about carving a space for the disabled community, for the chronic illness community, and letting everybody know that you can experience this pandemic and this quarantine in the way that's right for your body and your experience.
Absolutely. I think that's perfectly said. And I hope to see just like what you're doing and what so many people are doing, just kind of like throwing some diversity into the narrative about what we can be doing with our time. And I am seeing that slowly but surely, and that's just so cool.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, because I remember when I interviewed you for the podcast, you talked a lot about beauty and self-care and how it has been a really radical practice for you, right? Like,
yeah,
a part of the disabled community, that's not what you're preached about, like, you know, this gorgeous, glorious existence. And it's something that I feel that you work really hard for and you're really intentional about. So during this time of, you know, so much uncertainty and so many challenges that we have that we've never had before, what are you doing to take care of yourself and add that self-love and self-care into your day?
Yeah, I mean, I still do the skincare routine that I do in my normal day-to-day life, which is pretty extensive and like is really just about pleasure. And I don't actually know how much of it makes my skin that much physically or like visually clearer.
Yeah.
But also like I have a bit more time, so I've been like reading poetry and taking baths, which I think is just like a really romantic thing to do.
Yeah.
And I've just been kind of like taking advantage of my bathtub and the parts of my home. Like I feel like I didn't realize how many different places in my house there were to sit.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Like, oh, is it a sit at my vanity part of the day, or is it a sit in the one chair in my room time of day, or is it a sit on the couch part of the day?
Yes, I actually really love that. I've never heard it sort of expressed that way, but I actually completely know what you're talking about when you say that.
Yeah, and just like experiencing my house and like beautifying my house a bit, making sure that the art I have is like framed and hung and dusted. And that's been kind of where my beauty routine has gotten, since I'm not wearing makeup every day, even though I don't wear makeup every day in real life. I'm wearing makeup a little bit less.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, like right before, literally like 15 minutes before this.
Same. I had an alarm set for 4:30 and then I was like, all right, let me go look in the mirror for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been interesting because I have found that my self-care and my beauty routine has really been more about me during this time, although it always was about our own lives and our own feelings. But I have found, because I'm really just by myself, although I was with my parents for a little while in New Jersey, it's really just about me. Even on the days when I wasn't doing a live and I put on a little bit of makeup, it was really just for me. And it was meaningful to me.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. I really love that. I also wonder about assistive devices and how many people are using their assistive devices more now that no one can see them. I'm thinking about like, I basically wear my glasses all the time now, whereas normally I don't. I take them off if I have to talk to people, which feels polite, which is, I know, crazy, but like,
yeah, it's just like a habit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then thinking about other assistive devices that I have in my home, like my crutches and things like that, that I normally really try to avoid utilizing. I since no one's looking, I've been using them.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. Carolina's actually saying she bought a cane for the first time, which is
wow,
interesting. So I guess like this is something that people are really discovering and sort of exploring right now. And, you know, Fabulous and Fatigued, I saw your comment earlier. And that
I think it's a great time to experiment with assistive devices. A lot of people feel turned off to them because they don't know how to use them and they're afraid they'll look silly out in the world while they're still trying to figure out how to use them. So I think that might be a good.
Oh, that's so interesting that like this moment in our homes where we have to stay inside might be a good time for people to explore that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I would have never thought of that. That's really cool. I think that's actually a really empowering way to look at it right now.
Yeah.
Carolina, you'll have to tell us how it's going with your cane, and that if you're, and she's saying what a beautiful way to see it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and tell us what you need for your cane. If you need like stickers or like a ribbon or something,
Oh
we
my
can
God. I love
figure
it.
it out.
I actually, before I got on here, I put on your fresh lip balm, which I was like, I should like show her, but I couldn't.
Wow, I'm
I bought,
so
I
honored.
bought two of them. They were,
Thank
you know, I
you.
went to Union Square store and bought two of your fresh lip balms because I love you and I love fresh, and it was such a great product. So yeah, I
Thank
love
you
that.
so much. That's like such an honor. You know, and
Yeah.
also I'm really grateful that came out before this pandemic.
Yes. Well, so that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about. Like, you work in a way that is so people centered, right? And it's so physical in terms of you're actually putting tattoos on people's bodies. So,
Yeah.
what has that been like for you? And what are you feeling about navigating your own work right now?
Well, at first I was really sad
Yeah.
because so much of my power and my energy and my joy comes from my work. I love my job. I feel so honored that I get to tattoo people. And I was, you know, like, this pandemic feels like it's attacking me because I made a career out of touching my face and touching other people. And now those are the two things we're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
But like moving forward from that and finding new paths and finding new things that I'm going to do, I'm not going to be able to tattoo probably for like a really long time. So I've made some neon signs and some temporary tattoos to access people. I'm working on a really special project that I'm going to be making clothes, which has been a dream of mine for my whole life. And I just am like completely shifting gears and figuring it out that way.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Did you give yourself time, and maybe you're still giving yourself time to also grieve and like feel the sadness as well?
Yeah, I mean, I give myself time to be sad a lot, actually. And like, even I give Margot time to be sad a lot. And like, I talk a lot to her about her feelings, and we have a lot of different times that we're sad and times that we're happy.
Yeah.
She is my 5-year-old daughter, for anyone who doesn't know who Margot is, and she loves what she calls rock and roll. So that would be like Fall Out Boy or the 1975. We like listen to that real loud and dance it out when we got a lot of feelings going on.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful that you're teaching her that it's okay to feel your feelings and that there are healthy ways to access that. I mean, I think a lot of adults could use that, honestly. Like, whether you can physically stand up and dance or just dance in your seat or you're, you know, in your assistant.
Well, a lot of it is me kind of sitting on a floor and like moving my arms and like just kind of showing her that like, this is how I'm going to dance today because I don't want to wear my leg.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I see a lot of people in the comments are so excited about you announcing that you're working on something with clothes because they probably cannot wait to get their hands on it. And I saw Fabulous and Fatigue said that she bought your fresh product just for the stickers, even because she was so excited about your stickers. So that's really exciting. You've got a lot of
Thank you so much, Fabulous and Fatigued. I promise there'll be more stickers that don't come, you know, at a lip gloss price point soon.
No, that's awesome. And I also wanted to ask you, you know, one of the things that came up a lot with, especially at the very beginning of this pandemic, was that the disabled community has been advocating for the fact that they needed to work from home or have certain just considerations, you know, for how they have to show up in an office in a workplace. And a lot of people were like, oh, so we all could have been working from home. You know, obviously as a tattoo artist, that's a little different, but so many people who have to show up in an office or have to schlep or.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I have said for so long, especially having a child in the last, you know, few years, attendance policies are ableist. And there's no reason that we need to be going to these spaces that can clearly also be done not in person. And I hope that as we depart from this time, we're able to take the resources that we've learned and what we know is truly possible with us into our new offices. Like my job requires me to be somewhere, and I have like a million different scheduling hacks that makes my life possible.
Yes.
But that's also because I work for myself. But I think bosses and the people with power right now need to consider, you know, the value of a disabled person, because I think a disabled person brings so much value to a company, so much perspective, so many things that we need those voices, and we can't leave them out because of an office that isn't accessible.
Yeah, and just like a system of ableism, like you're saying. Like I feel like I'm getting moved, you know, so deeply by what you're saying, and people in the comments are also blowing this up and just being like, this is really, really hitting home for people. That I wonder if it's gonna change. Like I heard today that Twitter actually got rid of their entire offices, and they're no longer gonna have offices. Everyone's just going to work from home for good. Like that's just it. I wonder if that is, you know, a lean in the direction for more inclusivity, or if that's simply a financial decision. But what do you think? Do you think people will start to make those considerations in a way that they haven't before?
I want to say I hope so. I definitely think education is going to change, and I'm seeing people kind of comment about their interactions with their professors, and I'm hoping that moving forward, especially in do we call it higher learning, or like college and beyond college, that we can like really start accommodating people, because I think that kind of education really needs compassion.
Yeah.
And even for little kids, you know, I think that it's possible to learn in different ways. My child is able-bodied, but I don't necessarily feel eager to send her back to 5 days a week of 6 hours of schooling. Yeah. And if we can maybe start doing some kind of personalized schedules, I think people would find a lot more joy and peace in their bodies and in their spirits.
Yeah, and I also think of, just in terms of what you're saying about how people learn, my mom and I talk about this actually a lot, because when I was in school, you know, I really didn't do well in school. I really had a really hard time.
Me either, because I did not attend school because I was extremely ill.
Yeah, right. Well, so I had psoriasis from the age of 10, and I had it covering like 98% of my body. So the inflammation and the actual physical pain that I was in was also just so debilitating. But it was a skin condition. So people used to always be, it's just a skin condition, right? Like people didn't really understand. Like even for you, I remember when we first spoke, you were talking about being an amputee, and you were like, some people who experience this don't have any pain, but that's actually not your experience.
Right. Well, that's a big part of it, is being like, you know, people would, even when I had a foot, would be like, it's just her foot. Like kids can come to school with a broken foot. And my parents kind of trying to explain that I had like arthritis, and there was a lot of other health issues that were accompanying just my foot. But like at the same time, I always felt really uncomfortable explaining my medical situations to strangers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very vulnerable thing. It's a very vulnerable thing. It's like, I'm going to now tell you this actually very personal, private part of myself that I am probably having a hard time with on my own. And now I have to share it with you. And I have no idea if you're going to accept it, if you're going to believe it, if you're going to understand it. Like that's a lot to put on someone, especially a child.
Right. Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. So I'm really so glad that we're having this conversation. I think that we could probably have this conversation for 10 more hours, because it is just so powerful. And I love talking to you, Mira. I'm so glad that we got to chat today. And I hope that we can have you back on our Chronicon series, because I think that there are a lot of things that we can dive deeper into.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're like one of the most inspiring people I met in 2019. And I just am so proud of you. And even I do want to take a minute and like commend you for the way that you're keeping Chronicon happening virtually right now. Is just so cool.
Oh, I so appreciate that. It's definitely been an interesting ride to figure out how we're going to pivot. And I think sort of like what you were saying too, just taking like small steps and not trying to do all of it or do the most. You know, these chronic convos have been really nurturing and nourishing for me, and to focus on that one thing weekly. And then we also just came out with a new newsletter. So just sort of focusing on those small steps, I think has been really helpful. And being able to call on people like you has just, it's made a huge difference. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for balancing parenting and life and all of that in the midst of this conversation. And hopefully we'll get to be with you again real soon.
For sure. Thank you so much. Stay healthy and safe and happy, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Mira. Bye, honey.